we finally get nodes analysis of the high time frames, telling us what to look out for in 2024. Are you ready for us,
Yeah, of
Professor
course.
Node?
Of course.
He's ready. He's ready all the time to bring up charts.
Yeah, yeah, I always am. Yep. All right. So kind of piggybacking off what Nick was talking about with that 160 to 200K top on Bitcoin. Um, so I have something plotted here that we can notice Bitcoin does during these cycles. Obviously, in the early stages of Bitcoin, when it's parabolic moves like this with such a low market cap, you can see if you just draw the top trend lines, you can see every single time it comes to those top trend lines, actually end up being sort of tops, right? And so if you draw back from 2017 and you draw back the top that we made here in 2021, we actually made that double top, right? Perfect touch on the top trend line. So I think we do something like that, similarly to what we've done in the past. But yeah, I mean, maybe a drawdown to about that 618 level, which we were talking about, that 36 to 38K region, to maybe retest the long-term trend line and catch some bids off there to propel us into the latter part of the bull market. Which could, I mean, obviously, when we make contact with this top trend line is when we'll probably top out. So it just depends on how long we go sideways for and consolidate before we start making those movements. And yeah, I would say anywhere between, I'm giving a range because I don't know. Obviously, this 100K level is for us to get to 100K without touching the trend, with touching the trend line would be like a just straight candle up. So that's more or less unlikely. Anywhere probably from this 120 to 170 region. If you look carefully, like if we really draw this out, that 1618 is looking like a likely target, which is about $165,000 Bitcoin. All right. So yeah, that's probably the area where we would really want to be de-risking everything. Um, Except for unless you bought Bitcoin in the previous cycles and it's just something that you want to hold through bear market. I would say Bitcoin is the only asset, maybe Ethereum if you really want to hold through bear market. But um, yeah, if you notice the drawdowns too on the cycles, they're becoming less and less. We did a 76% correction this last cycle versus the previous cycle, which was 84%. So about a 10% differential. I'm going to go ahead and say that it's probably going to be something similar next cycle. As more and more capital flows into Bitcoin, these bear markets for Bitcoin are going to become less and less of a drawdown. So if we do get to that 170K region, we're probably going to do about a 65% correction from that top, which would pretty much put us right around that 65K region, 60 to 65K region. So yeah, getting really tight up there, right? So yeah, if you bought Bitcoin below 30K and you want to hold it long term, I think it's okay to do that, unless you really need that cash. I personally will not be selling my Bitcoin this cycle. Um, just like last cycle, I did not sell any of my Bitcoin. All right, cool. So that's the Bitcoin chart. Going back to, hey man, are we in alt season right now? Because ETH BTC was bid during the ETF news, right? I noticed that. I actually mentioned it to the guys before it happened. I said, hey, we might see an alt season because alts are drastically undervalued versus Bitcoin. And here's the ETH Bitcoin chart. We're in a massive bullish pennant here. Measuring from the bottom of the pennant from the 2020 bottom here to the top of the pennant, where we've made the structure, is about a 500% measured move. Now, we don't necessarily need to do the whole measured move, but we usually capture about half to maybe 65% of that move during a breakout. So it's possible we see ETH make new all-time highs this cycle versus Bitcoin around that 20 to 23% of a Bitcoin. Now, that could come after Bitcoin reaches its top and starts pulling back to that maybe 150, $140,000 region, where ETH is just rallying into the end of the bull market. Like usually a month or two after Bitcoin tops out, the altcoins start topping out. So let's go to the ETH US dollar chart because that'll give you kind of a little bit more of a longer term perspective as to where ETH might run this cycle. So similarly, what we did with the Bitcoin chart, I'm kind of also contemplating the same types of things on the top of this trend line and where we make contact with it, which would be right around that $12,000 region for Ethereum, and making its bottom here around this $1,000 level. That puts ETH at about a 12x from its bottom. Great long-term trade. Any questions about the analysis here? I know it seems a little bit kind of crazy that we're going to see a $12,000 ETH potentially on this cycle, but I personally rolled actually all of my Ethereum for Kusama this cycle, and I'm going to show you guys why I think I can earn a lot more ETH with this trade than just riding ETH to 12K. And this is part of one of my long-term swing trade strategies. Sure, I mean, Kusama might underperform ETH here as ETH rallies, but we did get a massive falling wedge breakout against Ethereum. And if we go out to like the monthly chart, we can see that, man, we got a huge monthly squeeze against ETH here. When this, this is done consolidating, and after ETH does its initial move to about that 3K region, 3,500 region, I think we're going to see a lot of these alts really start to outperform. And, the monthly stochastics here ticking up with lots of separation is telling me that this has lots of upside against ETH here. And I'm looking at about a 1,600% measured move against Ethereum. That would just be to the top of the wedge, right? So while ETH is probably going to do a 5 to 6x, Kusama could do against ETH about a 16x, all right? And in US dollar valuation for Kusama, it would be, now I don't know that it's going to make contact with the top of this trend line. That would be pretty absurd. But if it does, it could mean anywhere from, 1,600 to about a $3,600 Kusama, which in my opinion is a really crazy valuation. I don't think it's going to get that high, but my conservative target is the all-time high, which is about $600 for Kusama. And we have an average entry on our swing around 33 bucks. So this is one of my trades that I'm in here for this cycle. I'm actually in about 16 different swing positions right now. Avalanche being another one that we entered, an average entry around $10. I'm going to just delete this chart so you guys can see why I think this asset is going to also make quite a rally this run. We could see, Avalanche pull back a bit here on the monthly with the rest of these assets, pulling back here on the 2-day and 3-day charts with Bitcoin coming down. But I'm looking, if you're looking to, dollar cost average into Avalanche, I'm looking around this, $30 to $25 region. A pullback up here from about 50 bucks is a nice pullback to make a higher low off of, right? That's about a 40 to 50% drawdown. That's usually what you get on some of these altcoins. And yeah, we could see Avalanche trade somewhere towards the top of this channel, which is around that $250 to $300 region. Down from its bottom at $9. That's quite an ROI for a major layer 1 blockchain. And perfect, right to the 618 golden mean ratio and pulling right back at it. I think 26 bucks if we don't hold this level here is a likely target for it to come down to. I don't know. I actually just bought a lot of this Kava coin. My entry is around 80 cents. And this one hasn't really performed just yet because I think it's this is a Cosmos layer 1. You can see that it's literally just down here ranging at these lows or near the range lows. It's only about well, it bottomed out at like 50-60 cents. So like I think this type of structure, you have like a descending broadening formation here. This type of structure usually breaks to the top on a breakout. So $8.20 might be this target for this asset longer term. Again, you're in probably a monthly squeeze. I think I already looked at this. Yeah, so you're going into a squeeze. This could go sideways for a bit before it really kind of, confirms what it's doing. This next week or two might be some sideways or a bit of drawdown, just ranging in this area. But you can see you're coming up to this trend line right here, and And once volume starts to pick up on this asset, you're going to get a break, and then you can just watch these levels, right? You know, the major 236 fib extension around this $1.11 region, that would confirm that this was the bottom. So this asset hasn't even confirmed that it's bottomed out yet on a Fibonacci basis. So that's another asset that I'm in here. You guys know about INJ, I'm sure. Still in a quite a long position there.
No, could we look at USD T dominance?
Sure, yeah. So I
Yeah,
actually had this plotted already for you guys.
yeah.
All right, so tether dominance on the monthly here. You guys can see we're sort of back testing this breakdown right now, and obviously after you break down on a structure, you back test it, right? And this is where this pullback is happening, right, on this back test. But what I think is going to end up happening is, we'll try to like touch maybe up to 6.21%, or even we might even try to push to like 6.3 region. But I think we're just going to get rejected there. And we're going to see next month's candle just be a dump it candle. And that's going to confirm that this rising wedge has been back tested and confirmed. We'll get like what we call a 3-bar play down on the monthly time frame. And we know that because if we look at our average sentiment oscillator, we made a bearish cross on the monthly time frame, and usually these are pretty good. The last time we had a monthly bearish cross on the average sentiment oscillator was, January of 22, but you can see that it wasn't a lot of momentum, right? This was like, you know, um, this was the end of our bull market, right? Because right here is when this is when Bitcoin made its double top in November, right? And so we made that, that it was kind of like a fake out on the momentum oscillator here. But we can see we had a big swing down on the bearish momentum to cross up here. So that this is a real cross on a monthly time frame for Tether. And there people are just dumping dollars right now into crypto assets. And this is the monthly time frame. If we go to like a quarterly chart, it's a little bit more clear, doesn't it? It just looks like it's just going to come straight down, right? Yeah. So like on a quarterly time frame, you can see the RSI breaking the RSI low here, confirming that further movement down here in the coming months is a likely scenario. And so I think longer term here in the next 3 to 6 months, we could see Tether come all the way down to about that 2.5% region, which would be confluent with where Bitcoin's previous all-time high was. All right. Now, how far are we going to go down this cycle? That's a great question. I think, and if we do respect TA here, I think we might come down to the bottom of the rising wedge, which would be around this 1.1 to maybe 0.5% region. I mean, that would be crazy stuff to see, but it's totally a possibility because if you really look at where this rising wedge starts, it's probably going to be somewhere confluent with where it comes to, maybe like, yeah, I would say conservatively this 1% area, which would probably send Bitcoin to like that $160,000 region. Yeah. So that's Tether dominance. We covered Bitcoin. We didn't cover Bitcoin dominance, and I want to cover that real quick here too. Because Bitcoin dominance is usually a tall tale sign of when we're going to see alt season. And you can clearly see that Bitcoin dominance is butting up right against a major resistance level right here on the monthly time frame. And that's why I do think we're going to see a bit of an alt season here these next couple months while Bitcoin corrects itself and maybe goes sideways for a bit. And so the monthly time frame here, you can see our monthly oscillator is already starting to make its cross down here. We haven't confirmed a monthly sell signal until we get down to this 80 line. But if we go to like the weekly, you can see that we've started to reject this region, and it could go sideways for a bit because the weekly already is starting to show signs of a reset. So, but I think that we might just go sideways here, and we're not going to necessarily push back up because look at our weekly average sentiment oscillator. You can see the bearish momentum picking up here, about to maybe get a cross up on the weekly. So we could go sideways. We could even maybe test this region again while Bitcoin finishes its correction and then bounces somewhere. right? When Bitcoin bounces somewhere, I'm sure Bitcoin dominance will go back up a bit. Um, it would make a lot of sense for Bitcoin dominance to come down to retest this 48% region where it broke out from. And if it does that, or when it does that, I think we're going to see a lot of altcoins really rally hard against Bitcoin. So that's Bitcoin dominance in a nutshell. I think we're pretty close to an area where it makes sense to be in altcoins versus Bitcoin here. And ETH BTC chart is pretty much telling us that right now.
How is total two looking?
We should look at total three because that excludes Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? So
Oh, okay. Right.
total three just broke a monthly squeeze. All right, total three just broke a monthly
Ooh.
squeeze. Beautiful. Let me get some of this stuff off my chart and redraw it for you guys to really see. So nice rounding bottom here, double bottom on the monthly. And you can see the long-term trend line here being pretty respected. I'm cutting off this top here because this was a blow off top on the monthly time frame. Right, you can see blow off top just back into the structure. And yeah, I think it'd be pretty likely to see, total three get pretty close to the next top of the trend line, which would be about a $3.4 trillion valuation
Ooh.
potentially, which is about a 8x from here in terms of
Wow.
low caps. Yeah, low to mid cap coins, everything but Bitcoin and Ethereum essentially. I guess this also includes BNB, but yeah. So the lower the cap that you're in, man, and the ROI potential is really there for a lot of these coins. Anywhere from 10 to 100x, depending on what you're in. We're in this solar coin. We can talk about it because I think it's something that I would call this a leveraged play off the Kusama and Moon River blockchain. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but this Solar Beam coin is a decentralized exchange on the Moon River Layer 1. And I personally took a position on this around 1.3 cents, but I actually added more to my position around 3.8 cents. So I have an average entry of about 2.7 cents on this coin. And if you really zoom out, and I mean, this coin launched during the peak of the bull market. And I mean, I'm charting on a log scale here, but if you chart on a regular time scale and you look at an asset that looks like this, and we go into a bull market, anyone that's been trading with us for a long period of time knows that an asset that goes straight down that eventually gets some buying pressure, we're looking at an asset that just goes straight up. And it could eventually get back up to this $20-$30 region. And the reason being is because it's only a $1.2 million market cap. And this coin is essentially following or is paired to Moon River, which is a layer 1 for Kusama. And I just told you I rolled all my ETH for Kusama. So I'm really betting heavy on the DOT ecosystem or KSM testnet for DOT. A lot of these dApps get deployed on KSM and Moon River before they get deployed onto DOT and to Moonbeam. And so this is a leverage play off of Moon River and Kusama. So you can just do the math, right?
Join the solar party.
Join the solar party. Yeah, I think this is going to be a life-changing trade. Here's the action against Moon River, right? So Moon River just actually broke out the other day. We were actually on a call like a week before this happened, and I was like, man, this thing looks like it's going to break out. And massive falling wedge pattern, the whole 9 yards with the setup. And I don't remember which chart I used for this, but there you go. So Moon River with the massive falling wedge breakout, kissed up to that $44 region, and it's just sitting up here. It looks extremely bullish. It's making like a cup formation even right here on the weekly chart. And yeah, I mean, maybe the daily looks a little bit extended, but I think we're going to see one more really big rally out of this thing before the end of the year here. And even into the rest of this bull market, I think this asset could easily trade back to $500 because the price action is just straight down. right? So when look at the volume that came in here. This is the most volume this asset's ever seen, even when it was launched back here in 2021. The asset's straight down. So when you get buying pressure coming back in an asset like this, similar to the solar chart, we're looking at an asset that's just going to go straight up eventually. So, and solar is paired to this coin. So when Moon River makes a 400% move, Solar Beam does like a like a 10x type of movement. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so this is another one of the I would call them degen plays that I'm in right now. I think, but the chart is dictating that, and it's telling me these things that I want to see. Um, and yeah, you can see the hidden weekly bullish divergence here against Moon River. This just crossing up on the weekly time frame, and we got a breakout of this massive wedge pattern. The top of the move is to the top of the wedge, right? So that's the trade. And that means Solar Beam is going to trade 6% of a Moon River. And if Moon River goes back to $500, what's 6% of $500? It's like $30. It's crazy. It's a crazy trade, guys. And if we look at like the monthly, we look at like the RSI, you can't even get the RSI in here. It's just so wrecked. But against the dollar, I think you can. And yeah, the monthly RSI is like, man, I don't know, a 0.82 reading. Up only, man. Up only for something like this. Up only. All right. And you can see how small these candles are down here, like massive squeezing going on down here. So yeah, I think this is like a life-changing trade. And do your own research, of course, but I've done the research, and I'm just trading the trade. I'm just trading the chart, if you will. Uh, any other coins that you guys want me to look at that I maybe haven't covered that you like, or some of these new narratives? I know like Ninja's all about the TIA and the Sui blockchain and some of these other assets. AI coins for sure. Render is another one.
Max 420 is asking about Ordi.
Ordinals, yep, yep.
This is some amazing value you guys are getting from Node here, not just the high time frame analysis, but some rockets that we're expecting in 2024 as well.
So I don't really have any data on this coin, but I mean, we're going into a bull market. I mean, I, I personally like to trade charts that have enough data for me to make a financial decision off of, but that's you know, not always the case for people. They like to trade the new coins that are they're in price discovery, and that's fine. The weekly time frame on this is pretty extended. You're already at 85 on the RSI. I'd be careful. You might see a retest of the breakout area at some point. Not saying right now or today or tomorrow. It might just sit up here. Like I said, I don't really have enough data on this coin, but it's in price discovery, and who knows where this thing will go. I don't know. That's the thing. Like that's why I'd rather make a financial decision off something that I can actually chart. I'm sorry if that doesn't help you.
Oh no, Max 420 says Node, thank you. I will be setting up EQ on spot on the coins you spoke about. So there
Nice.
you go.
I see. So Ordi, Yoshi. Okay, one man shows asked about Yoshi. I do have a significant investment into Yoshi coin. I am down about 30% on this asset right now, but I think it just putting in a 3-day inverted hammer candle down here is usually indicative of price movement back to the upside. And I knew the risk taking the trade up here towards the top of this range. Okay, and I even mentioned it to folks in the Discord that we're looking at a potential 30 or 40% drawdown if we don't break out here. And so that's what we're experiencing right now. And I'm not really too worried about it. You're at the bottom of a range. So if you were to want to add to your position, this is probably the place to do it. I personally will not be adding to my trade. I did take a significant risk already, and I'm fine with just waiting and holding because I do believe that Phantom Coin, which is what Yoshi Coin is paired to, is going to make a significant rally in the middle of this year. All right. And so we can also see on the 3-day chart that we got a 3-day stochastic cross up here. All right. And so this is telling me that we got a full oscillating reset on the stochastics. So more than likely, we're going to see a push up here in the coming days, maybe weeks. And you can also see it here prevalent on the MACD. We have a 3-day hidden bullish divergence showing on the MACD oscillator, and you're right at the bottom of a range where you would see a reversal. Okay. And what does this mean? Does this mean we're going to go and break out? Maybe not. We may not break out right away. We might come up to the trend line here and then pull back one more time and make a higher low. And that's what we'll be looking for, because it'll probably get back above this level and then pull back to it. And then we'll go for a breakout, right? And then we'll make some sort of inverse head and shoulders pattern, and then we'll really break out. And the reason why I think it could do something like that is because of the monthly time frame. In the monthly time frame, we can see the RSI is down here at 28 reading. So oversold on the monthly time frame means that we could see some ranging for a bit on the smaller time scales. And obviously, we just retested our range low. So again, I knew we had limited downside when I took the trade. The upside potential is to the top of the channel, which is, I don't know, 175. So even with an entry about 4.5 cents, we're still looking at a nice risk to reward situation long term. That's like a what, 5,000% measured move or close to that. About a 3,700% measured move. So almost a 40x trade. Mina was requested. We'll look at Mina protocol. Let's see. Mina, I think, is a great protocol. I don't personally own it this cycle, but you can see the massive wedge that it broke out of. And, kind of really respecting this trend line here, this upsloping trend line that since it broke out of consolidated above and tested it one more time before getting that nice push up. And, you might get one more test down here to use the trend line as support again before your next leg up, right? So you might consolidate here for a bit, one more test, and then your next leg to the 618. That might be a good profit taking level, because this is a big area where there's lots of resistance, right? And, that we could see this big drawdown back here and retest the trend line again. Basically, though, long term, I think the measured move is to the top of the wedge pattern, which is between this $11 to $13 region. This thing bottomed out at 35 cents. So great long term swing trade there for Mina protocol. Even down here at $1 and change, you could be looking at a nice 10x trade from here. OKX chart. No, I just used the crypto index chart for it. That's got enough data.
Yeah, you want to have as much data as possible for these
Yep,
alts.
definitely. Yep.
Well, thank you. No, this has been an amazing, amazing session. Not only do you guys see what might be coming up and some levels to look at for the upcoming halving bull cycle, but you also have a few plays there that join the solar party. We're but make sure you look at these coins that Node is recommending. Kusama also, and Moon River. These are really good plays, and even if you're on the bots, just even owning something on chain rather than on an exchange is a good move to do. Just make sure these are alts, and you're managing your risk, and you're making sure that you don't bet the farm on it, right? This is money that you're willing to lose on any of these. But some great plays there.
I got one more for you guys, and
Oh,
before we go, this one's still pretty close to its range low here. It's called Fala Network. I believe this is also a Kusama asset. Don't quote me on that. I'm not 100%, but I mean, just take a look at what this thing's doing down here. It's just been kind of consolidating towards the bottom of its range, and I think this is going to see some pretty big upside here. I don't know what this. I honestly don't know. It doesn't really matter to me what these coins do, but if they're showing this type of momentum on the chart, you can clearly see what they might end up doing. And this looks like a massive descending triangle, just like ENS the other day was in. And you guys all know what ENS did But this is looking, you're looking at about a 1200% measured move on this type of coin right here. And that could just be the start of it. It could just do something like this where it rallies out, maybe makes a cup and handle and makes a new all-time high towards the end of the cycle. So this could maybe go to like $6 to $9 long term. This type of coin, again, don't know what it does, doesn't really matter. Just kind of looking at a chart, and could be a pretty significant move for this coin. So add this one to your watch list. It's still at the bottom of the range and it hasn't broke out just yet.
Yeah, now is the time rather than waiting until everything is topped out and being like, "Oh wow, we're in the bull run." No, no, you want to buy the lows, especially on these coins that have just been knocked down to their all-time lows, right?
Check it
This is
out.
great.
Again, monthly squeeze like that is something not to ignore. Your stochastics on the monthly just gave you a buy signal. Like, right. Long term time frame analysis is really where you make the money, guys. That's it. A long time frame analysis is where you're gonna make the money. Uh,
Hmm.
you can supplement with the shorter time scales with like the bots and stuff, but I think the bulk of your guys' capital should be in spot on these long term trades. That's just my personal opinion, but
That's
excuse me.
what Max 420 is saying. Roll bot profit into node calls.
Yep.
So yeah, that's definitely a way you can play it. And I mean, you want to have a mixed portfolio. You're right. You don't want it all on bots, and you don't want it all on this big swing trades either. But yeah, and if you do, if your alt does top out and you make a nice big exit, but it's not the end of the bull cycle, then yeah, you can roll those profits into the lower risk bot strategies as well. And of course, Node will be calling out other things happening. So yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of options out there to play 2024. So I hope you guys enjoyed that extended session on how to trade the 2024 market, and it gives you lots to think about, some gems to trade there, and some tops to look at, right? I think the big thing is, you're going to hear crazy numbers by crypto Twitter and all this. We're going to 500K, we're going to 350K. You have to remember each
Ignore the noise.
cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah, each cycle is less and less of an exponential growth.
Growth.
So yeah, so just like last cycle, we were supposed to be in the 200s, 250 if it was exact from the last cycle, and it ended up being 69K. So don't get too crazy. Don't Make sure your predictions are level headed. And I think part of that is looking at what Ninja Trader was talking about and looking at those dates, right? If we are in October 2025, November 2025, and you're like, and we're sitting at 100K, and you're like, we're going to be going to 300K. Maybe not. Maybe not, right? Maybe the timing is more important than the actual price. Okay, so keep those things in mind, and we want nothing but success for our STP members, and also whoever's joining us from DGen. Also, we want you guys to be successful.